You ever notice how the people you trusted the most didn't slowly fade away? They vanished. No explanation, no closure, no warning. One moment they were part of your everyday life. The next moment they were gone like they never mattered. And that's what hurt the most. Not just that they left, but how easily they did it. You replayed everything in your head, every conversation, every decision, every moment you think you messed up. You asked yourself questions that kept you awake at night. What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I enough? Why was I so easy to replace? And the silence answered nothing. Listen to me. Their leaving was not a reflection of your worth. It was a revelation of their limits. You thought they walked away because you failed, but God knew they stayed longer than they were supposed to. They weren't strong enough to walk into your future. Some people are only meant to meet you, not stay with you. And when God sees someone becoming a liability to your purpose, He removes them even if it hurts you at first. At the moment they left, it felt like abandonment, like betrayal. It was protection disguised as loss. You see, God hears conversations you never hear. He sees intentions you never see. He knows outcomes you can't imagine. And sometimes the most loving thing God can do is take someone away before they destroy you completely. They didn't walk away because you were weak. They walked away because you were changing, and people who benefit from the old version of you will always leave when you start becoming stronger. After they left, the noise stopped. No messages, no calls, no familiar names lighting up your phone, just silence. And at first, that silence felt cruel. It was loud in your head, too loud. Every thought echoed, every memory got sharper, every doubt grew teeth. You were missing who you were when they were around. Because when people leave, they don't just take their presence, they take routine, they take comfort, they take the distraction that kept you from hearing yourself. And that's why the silence hurt so much. It forced you to sit with things you had been avoiding. You couldn't explain it away. You couldn't distract yourself with maybe they'll come back. It was just you and the truth. The truth that you were exhausted. The truth that you were giving more than you were receiving. The truth that you were bending parts of yourself just to keep others close. Silence has a way of stripping things down. It removes excuses. It removes masks. It removes the noise that lets pain hide. And in that quiet, something uncomfortable started happening. You started changing. You stopped reaching out first. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped chasing closure that never came. At first, it felt like emptiness, but slowly it became space. Space to think clearly, space to feel honestly, space to see patterns you ignored before. You began noticing how often you had to convince people to care, how often you ignored red flags just to avoid being alone, how often you stayed quiet to keep the peace. That silence became a mirror, and what you saw wasn't weakness. You realized something important. You didn't collapse when they left. You hurt, but you survived. And survival changes people. You started guarding your energy. You started choosing peace over explanation. You started valuing calm more than connection. The silence taught you discipline. It taught you how to sit with discomfort without running back to what hurt you. It taught you that loneliness doesn't kill you, avoidance does. It taught you that being alone is better than being surrounded by people who drain you. You weren't being punished by the quiet. You were being rewired. Because before the rebuild comes the clearing. Before strength comes stillness. Before elevation comes isolation. That silence wasn't empty. It was preparation. And without realizing it, you are becoming someone who no longer needs noise to feel whole. This is the part no one warned you about. Before you become stronger, something inside you has to end. Not physically. The old version of you, the one who overgave, over-explained, over-trusted, that version couldn't survive what was coming next, so it had to go. You didn't lose it all at once. You felt it slipping away in pieces. The urge to chase disappeared. Overage to chase disappeared. The habit of apologizing for existing died slowly. And at first that felt scary, because that old version was familiar. Even if it was tired, even if it was hurting, you were used to being the one who tried harder, the one who fixed things, the one who stayed when others left. Letting that go felt like losing your identity. But what you were really losing was conditioning. You were conditioned to believe love had to hurt. Conditioned to think effort meant worth. Conditioned to accept less just to avoid being alone. So he dismantles them. That's why things fell apart. That's why people couldn't stay. That's why what once worked suddenly didn't. You weren't failing, you were outgrowing. The old you moved from emotion. The new you moves from clarity. The old you reacted. The new you responds or doesn't. The old you needed reassurance. The new you trust yourself. And yes, that transition feels like grief. Because even unhealthy versions of ourselves feel safe when we've lived in them long enough. You grieved the innocence that believed everyone had good intentions. But what replaced it wasn't emptiness, it was awareness. You stopped needing validation from people who couldn't give it. You stopped explaining your worth to those who questioned it. You stopped lowering your standards just to keep doors open. That old version didn't die to punish you, it died to protect you. Because the next level requires boundaries, it requires discernment, it requires strength that doesn't beg. And now, you carry yourself differently, just grounded. You're not who you were before the pain, and that's not loss, that's evolution. The old version of you had to die so the unbreakable version could live. What they never expected was this. They thought your story ended when they walked away. They thought the silence would finish you. They thought the damage they caused would be permanent. But this is where they were wrong. Because God doesn't rebuild people quietly forever. There comes a moment when the work that was done in the dark steps into the light. And when that happens, it's public, not loud. Just undeniable. You won't announce it. You won't explain it. They'll just notice. Your calm, your focus, your distance. They'll feel it before they understand it. Because the version of you they knew no longer exists. You're not reacting anymore. You're not chasing. You're not trying to be seen. You're solid. And that makes people uncomfortable, especially the ones who thought they broke you. They'll remember how they left you, how they doubted you, how they talked when you were down. And now they'll watch you rise without their permission. That's the part that stings. Not because you're winning, but because you didn't need them to do it. God is rebuilding you right where they can see it, in the same rooms, around the same people, in the same spaces where they underestimated you, not to embarrass them, but to reveal you. You're not coming back emotional. You're coming back disciplined. You're not coming back angry. You're coming back aware. This rebuild isn't cosmetic, it's structural. God didn't just heal what they damaged. He removed what made you vulnerable to that damage in the first place. Your boundaries are stronger. Your intuition is sharper. Your peace is protected. And when people see that, they'll realize something uncomfortable. They didn't break you, they trained you. Every betrayal sharpened your discernment. Every loss strengthened your independence. Every moment of isolation deepened your faith. They'll want access again. They'll test the door. But you're not the same person who leaves doors unlocked. This rebuild didn't happen for applause. It happened for alignment. And when they see you now steady, focused, unshaken, they'll understand too late. God rebuilt you in front of them so they could witness what endurance creates. And you won't need to say a word. Your presence will explain everything. Now understand this clearly. What's happening to you right now is not a return to who you were. It's not a recovery. It's not a second chance at the same life. This is a replacement. God didn't rebuild you so you could go back to the same patterns, the same people, the same limits. He rebuilt you because the old version of you could not survive where he's taking you. That's why so much had to fall apart. That's why it hurt the way it did. If things hadn't broken, you would have stayed small. If people hadn't left, you would have stayed dependent. If the pain hadn't exposed the truth, you would have kept trusting what was slowly destroying you. This rebuild is final. You're not fragile anymore. You're not unsure. You're not asking for permission to exist. You've learned how to stand alone without feeling lonely. You've learned how to be quiet without feeling invisible. You've learned how to walk away without needing closure. That's power. But to learn how to walk away without needing closure. That's power. Every sleepless night trained your mind. Every unanswered prayer strengthened your patience. Every tear taught you endurance. Nothing was wasted, not the heartbreak, not the rejection, not the waiting. God used all of it to build a version of you that doesn't fold under pressure. That's why what's coming next won't break you. Success won't confuse you. Attention won't change you. Favor won't corrupt you. Because you already survived the worst without any of those things. You don't need validation anymore. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove anything. Your life will speak. And here's the part people won't understand. You're not rising angry. You're rising grateful. Grateful for the pain that woke you up. Grateful for the loss that cleared your vision. Grateful for the silence that taught you how to hear God clearly. You're attracting alignment. You're not forcing doors. You're walking through the ones God already opened. And when you arrive where you're going, you'll look back and finally understand. The breaking wasn't cruelty, it was precision. God was removing everything that couldn't survive your future. So don't rush this season. Don't explain yourself. Don't shrink to make others comfortable. This version of you was built to last. And from this point forward, you're not rebuilding anymore. You're walking in what God prepared while you thought everything was falling apart.